It's great to see everybody. Huge week going into Fort Worth, playing TCU. I really hope I get to see a lot of red in the stadium. I know it will be tough as far as the way they do things, but it'd be great to see a lot of red in the stadium. It's a big week to bounce back. I have great belief in our players. I know that they've got a lot of pride. This coaching staff has a lot of pride. We're playing a really good team. They're coming off a win against Utah, and it's a tough place to play, and they had a really good game, 13-7. They're very explosive on offense, and then they played really, really good defense against Utah. So it should be a great game. The one thing that we've got to do is we've got to play better this week. And I know we will. I've met with a lot of different players over the last 2 days of us trying to figure out exactly, what happened on Saturday. I take a lot of blame for it, but I know that we'll bounce back. We have, and we'll continue to do that. And like I told the guys in the locker room after the game, the good thing, the way our schedule sets up, we don't need anybody's help. There's teams that are in this conference that are 3-1. And they need people's help. We're not one of those teams. We have everything that we need to control. We need to control, and the first thing it needs to start with is having a great week of practice and getting ready for TCU and going and win a big game on the road. So with that, open up with any questions.
Start with Justin in the middle.
Coach, we talked about it post game, but what stood out to you upon rewatch with how they were able to run the ball so effectively?
Yeah, it's a good question. I thought that question was coming, so I got to put some stuff down just from the film and everything. I mean, if you look, one of their first big runs, they bounce the ball. We have no edge. We're bringing a blitz. We don't get so we're gap exchanging with the defensive end, defensive tackle, and the linebacker, and defensive tackle doesn't get there, linebacker doesn't get there. They bounce the ball. I mean, that was a big part of it. The big things that showed up on tape is something that is kind of almost, I feel like I've said, and I know TD said, it's a broken record that, whenever the ball bounces, we don't have an edge player. We were not gap sound in some of their plays in the second half, didn't adjust well. And then, I thought the one thing that they did very well that we did not do well is tackle in space. I didn't think we tackled in space. I mean, you saw that on a couple of big runs and big run after catch. There was a touchdown on the sideline, and instead of us taking a shot, we came up there and broke down. And we have a habit of breaking down too far away from the ball, and now they've got a two-way go instead of forcing the ball back to your help. And that's whenever we haven't played well on defense, those things keep coming up over and over.
On the other side of the trenches, your offensive line seemed like gave up some pressure, maybe not the best performance on run game. I guess, how do you feel that they performed, and how does that look moving forward?
Yeah, the one thing that they did, if you go back and you watch the two games, they played a lot better than they played against Arizona. I do think, I said it in the press conference, I think that Baylor has two really good edge rushers and Steve Linton, and then Matt Jones played really, really well. He's played well in West Texas, being a West Texas guy. Whenever my first year and this year, probably two of his better games, conference games. But I thought whenever O-line-wise, when we were talking about grading out, they played much better than they played against Arizona. That there was some room to run the ball. I thought Taj did a great job running the ball, and where Baylor did a good job is when Taj was in space, where it looked like it was going to be a 20-yard run or a 25-yard run other than the touchdown run. They were able to get him down, to where it was a 5-yard gain or a 7-yard gain. But, offensive line, we've got the same group, and then Sterling rolled his ankle. I think that he'll trend to be able to play, but if not, we'll give some of the younger guys a shot. But everybody else is good to go.
Go ahead, Jared.
Coach, you talked about some of the problems against the run, but once again, not much pass rush.
None.
And then a lot of the times, y'all did blitz, but dropped 8. I'm just curious about the strategy with that, and then if you could do it over, would you, in terms of that strategy?
it's frustrating because it's been like this. I mean, you can go back. I mean, I can go all the way to Arizona, ACU, and see their inside slot catch the ball because we moved away from it. But like, one of the big plays in the game, it's 2nd and 10. We have a blitz on. Trey McAlpin is going to sack the quarterback. You can pause and see exactly, and he flips the ball to the running back because we have somebody that has the running back and he doesn't take the running back, and that's the thing that's frustrating, just to play good football, you got to continually do your job and not try to do too much. And we've got somebody that, because we're not getting enough pressure on the quarterback, he's trying to pressure the quarterback, but that's not his job. He's got to take the running back, and everything's not fitting together. It's interesting because one guy that I met with today was C.J. Baskerville, and that was one of his things that he's like, Coach, when we get in some of those things, and we talk about this all the time. It's like, hey, if we're not getting home with 3, which we're not, then bring 4 or 5 and just put it on us to cover. And, it's something we did more against Arizona than we did against Baylor, and had more hits on the quarterback against Arizona. But we didn't have 1 sack and did not have 1 time that we had a tackle for a loss. And, that's a little bit of credit to them, but it's a lot of us. And you're never going to have a tackle for a loss if you're not setting the edge of the defense and forcing the ball to where it doesn't want to go. You're never going to have a sack when everything's not married together. And, it's like a broken record whenever it comes to that. We have a game on with the 2 defensive tackles and 1 defensive end, and instead of being on an edge and rushing the center, we're rushing right down the middle of somebody, and it just turns into we're pushing. So with that, you're really not rushing. You don't have a pass rush when it comes to that, and it's frustrating. We got to continue to work on that, but we also got to continue to schematically come up with some things to affect the quarterback, because if we allow this guy to stand back there like most quarterbacks, but if Hoover stands back there, he's going to pick us apart. He's got a big arm. They got 3 to 4 really, really good receivers, that are playing really well, and they're big and physical. And so, that's something that we're really going to have to work on, and we're going to have to do a good job against those guys.
You mentioned bouncing back. I'm curious, psychologically, after a month of success and dealing with that psychological part of it, of coaching, now with this loss and the way the loss happened, what's your approach this week with the team?
Tough people respond, and that's going to be the message. We have to respond. And the one thing that I do, I talked to Jacob Rodriguez this morning, and bringing different guys in, talking about a lot of different things, not just football. That's the thing that's great about my job and great about being a coach. Got the opportunity to grow these young men, but Jake and I were talking, and he goes, Coach, we've been in a lot darker places than this in our 3 years together, and it wasn't the same opportunity, and it wasn't exactly the same time, but, he did say, we were 3-5 last year and fought our way out of it. He said, and he's the one that, even though I had said it a little bit to them, he's the one that reminded me this morning, hey, we're in control of everything that we do, and so we can't let people in the building panic. Outside the building, we always remind each other that things are going to be said, and whatever's said is said. But as far as in the building, we can't panic. We got to respond, and that's going to be the deal, is how we're going to respond.
You said after the game on Saturday the physicality just wasn't there. How do you improve on that this week ahead of TCU?
Yeah, that was one thing, and you brought it up, Jared, after watching the game. You were right then, and you're 100% right after watching it. And I think that there was a lot of paralysis by analysis. There was a lot of overthinking whenever it comes on the defense side of the ball. That's where I think the physicality, because 2 weeks ago, or I guess going on 3 weeks, playing against Arizona, we played extremely fast. I thought that was the fastest we played all year long on defense. I thought we were really physical, and we took a step back. And so it's going back and really asking those questions to the players and the coaches whenever we start talking about game planning. It's like, what held us back from really turning it loose, and That's things that goes in yesterday and is going in today. Whenever you start talking about, like, today for us on defense is normal down and distance. They'll get that done, and then they'll get some third down done tonight after they kind of meet with their guys, and then tomorrow's kind of finishing up third down and red zone, and just getting together all on the same page to where they could play really fast. That's what, like, for me, there's a lot of things that I'm embarrassed about whenever it comes to that game, but we pride ourselves on being a high effort team, and that's what I always want whenever people see a team coached by me and the coaches that we have on the staff, and I don't think that happened Saturday. I think we got outplayed without a doubt, and so now why? We got to ask that question. Why? Was there too much on their plate? Were they thinking too much? Did we rep the things that we saw, and then did we adjust to let those guys play fast? And a lot of that for Saturday is a lot of no's, and so how do we do that to play faster on Saturday against TCU?
Go Jeff and Ty.
Coach, with the lack of production that you guys have had from the inside receiver spot, is there any conversation about moving Micah into the slot instead of having him on the outside, or is it because it's this late in the season and him being a freshman that it's a little too much to ask for that type of change this fast?
Well, our inside receiver is 15th in the country in passes and yardage, and I think he leads the Big 12, or he's number 3 in the Big 12, so that's Josh Kelly. So I don't know, as far as production, how you could be more productive than Josh Kelly, except for maybe more yards after that. So that's the guy that we have at the inside receiver. And then the other guys, because we play so much 11 and 12 personnel, you really only have 3 receivers on the field. That's been, Coy, Jordan Brown's behind him. Whenever we did go 10 personnel and we went empty, Micah was on the field, Dre McCray was on the field. But you're talking about, like, I think Dre had 18 snaps in the game. Micah had 21. So really the guy, production-wise, that you're getting out of, I think is one of the most productive guys in the nation, is probably going to end up should be one of the best, all the accolades at the end of the year is going to be Josh Kelly.
And with TCU this weekend, what really stands out that you guys are going to have to prepare for this weekend?
Number one, they're throwing the ball at a high level. I mean, they're 330 yards plus a game passing, and that was one thing against Baylor. They were kind of the same way and had not a lot of success running, and so we got to turn around and make sure that we're good on both ends, because I know they're going to try to come out and establish the run. But we're going to get attacked in the passing game. They have 3 to 4 really good receivers. I think their outside receiver, it's like BECH. I think he's leading the conference in yards and catches. So he's a big-time receiver. They got another outside receiver that's big and fast. They're going to be tough to handle, so we've got to do a good job with that. We've got to get to the quarterback, man. You're putting your guys at such a disadvantage whenever they've got to cover as long as they've got to cover, and so we've got to do a good job of pressuring the quarterback. Got to do some different things, in our pressures. And then on the other side of the ball, they're very similar whenever you're talking about they do a lot of stuff on defense. You're going to see a 4 down, 3 down. He's done a really good job. He did a great job against Utah. They got a young quarterback, so he was able to confuse him. And I think Barron has a good handle on what we're doing, but they're good on both sides of the ball, and what they have done is they've allowed a lot of explosive runs, and so we've got to do a good job of finding those runs that we do really well and attacking them that way, because they have allowed a lot of explosive runs.
Go Ty, then Emily, then Carter.
Coach, you mentioned this overthinking, this paralysis by analysis. Do you feel that's any fault of the self-scouting you guys did over the bye week, or do you feel you guys executed the things you identified then?
No, I think, guys that have said that to me, I keep saying defensive guys because I got offensive guys. I just hadn't got to meet with offensive guys yet because they had class earlier than the defensive guys. But like Ben and Roberts and John Curry, we were talking this morning, and I was, we were just talking through some things of like, man, you're not playing bad, but I don't see, the guy that I've seen at different times, and both of them were like, Coach, their comments were, we're trying to be too perfect, and I said the perfection comes pre-snap. Like, you got to get the call, you got to get aligned, and what's my assignment, and then you got to go be a football player. And, that's one thing that whenever I wanted to talk to them about and stuff like that is like, why do you feel that way? And that's something that we're all on I told them, I said, we're all in this together, but you've got your 11 guys on the field, and then you got me and the coaching staff, and you don't got to be perfect. Nobody's going to be perfect. What I want is for you to get lined up and then go be a football player and play like your hair's on fire. I think some of that's happening. I think especially whenever the momentum starts like just in your face, like, and we were just backpedaling the other day, is like you're trying to do something that this one play is going to make the difference in the game, and it's not. It's got just accumulation of plays, and so allowing them to get lined up, be perfect during alignment, but just go be a football player. And I think some of that stuff of just overthinking stuff is slowing us down. It definitely slowed us down against Baylor.
Yes, in your opinion, why do you feel your players kind of need to be perfect this year, that they're feeling that kind of pressure?
Now, I just think whenever you get into a situation where this is the first game that we have not played true complementary football. Like this team, every team's different. This team plays off of each other. So what I mean by that is for the majority of the season, and I'm sure y'all can check it. I haven't checked it. I need to. But like, when have we not stopped and scored, or the opponent scored and we did not turn around and score and play off of each other? So if you think about the other day, is the first time we come out and we get it 24-21. Well, throughout the year, especially the 4 games that we've played, the defense came out and got a stop. We didn't. We went and let them score. So now it's 31-21, right? And then we don't score off of that. So now all of a sudden it goes from a 3-point game to a 10-point game to, I think, maybe back to a 17-point game. I'm not sure. We haven't done that, And so I think because we didn't have that, they started trying to do too much, and that's where you're not setting the edges. That's where you're not tackling space. That's whenever like all that stuff happens. So these guys, we talk about it all the time about playing complementary football. We didn't do that on Saturday, and we've got to get back to doing that at TCU.
And then I know you preach that your guys have this self-motivation, but is there any extra motivation with a traveling trophy like Battle for the Saddle?
We talked about it, man, to leave it in Kirby's office. It's in Kirby's office. I walk, every time I walk in there, it's always good to see. So I definitely want to. But, it's a big game. TCU and Texas Tech have been playing for a long time. I think that's probably, why I guess everybody calls it the Butt Bowl. I think that's why it's so disappointing because, Baylor and Texas Tech have been playing. These are old, if you think about it, whenever I grew up, these are old Southwest Conference games, that mean so much to generations of Red Raider fans. And so I definitely think, it's a big game, and I know they'll be geared up for it. And, it's that old Southwest Conference rivalry.
Put Emily in the back.
So a lot of the times with losses, we like to focus on, what went wrong, what we need to improve on. But what do you think went well on Saturday and you hope can transfer into this weekend against TCU?
Yeah, I'm always going to I love this dude. I mean, he plays with such a passion. I mean, once again, Taj Brooks moves into the top 10 rushing in the history of the Big 12. He has another 100-yard game, so he's 2 away from Hanspard's had 21. He's had 18. He moves that much closer to, the guys in front of him with Gray and with Hanspard, and so he continues to do so much for this football team. I love watching that. I thought Caleb Douglas played one of his best games. He's really trending, if you look at Arizona, he had 2 huge catches in the Arizona game, and he played really well. I mean, I'm coming in this morning, and he and Barron are in the weight room. Monday's an optional lift. It's up to them if they want to get it. And, he's in the weight room, and I was talking to Lance, our head strength coach, and he goes, man, he's got such a good routine. He's one of the first guys in the building. He gets his lift in, and then Zane's, our head equipment guy, shooting balls off the jugs to him, and he's catching 100 balls before he goes to class or goes to breakfast, goes to class. He's playing at a real high level. So those things I thought, were, some really good things that we've got to build off of, I thought Barron did a good job. I know he wants that one back to where he tried to throw the whole shot in the cover 2, and the corner did a really good job belling. I guarantee if he could do it again, he would have spit the ball out to Jalen Conyers, as his check down. And so I thought, and then I thought you go back and you look at some of the run game, the tight ends are being really physical right now. Mason and John Carlos and Conyers are playing really good. They were challenged because I thought Arizona beat us up on the edges with their tight ends, and I thought they really responded being physical. So those are the things that really stood out, to me, that just keep building off of.
What do you guys lose with the injury to Duda?
Man, going back to guys I talked to this morning, Trey McAlpin, I talked to him about, hey, your snaps are about to go up. I thought he did play pretty well whenever he got more snaps the other day. He's really athletic. But we lose a leader. That was an emotional moment right there, because anytime you have to cart somebody off instead of limping off or helping off is always kind of a weird moment in a game. But he was playing really well. He was probably, DB Carroll and him were the 2 playing the best in the defensive tackle room. So they're all going to have to step up. But you're losing a guy that's really physical. He's got some really good length. And the other thing that you lose that we've got to figure out who that's going to be is the guy's blocked. If you look at the last 2 years, he's the guy that's been able to get his hand on the football whenever it comes to extra point blocks or field goal blocks. And those are points that you're losing a guy like that. So we got to figure out who that guy is.
Go back to Justin on the front row, then we'll finish with John.
Got Nate over here too. I got you, man. I'm not going to let you.
Coach, you mentioned J.C. Miller. I'm curious what you saw in his 2 defensive snaps as an edge rusher.
Yeah, it was good. Man, what an athlete. I mean, before I get to that, the tackle on the punt return, man, he was moving. I mean, the guy's really athletic. But I thought he did a good job. The first one, he didn't get a lot of pressure. The second one, the ball came out, pretty quick. But he was in the backfield. We'll continue to build off of that, try to build some packages to where we can get, because I think he was right at 35, 36 snaps, that's what he's been in, so we'll try to get him geared up more to maybe get some more snaps on third down.
Go ahead, Nathan.
You touched on a little bit of the complementary football aspect of it, but with kind of the defense not being up to snuff, kind of inconsistent there, do you think there's too much pressure on the offense to be even more perfect to kind of make up for that? Like you mentioned, not being able to capitalize on the score to stop there. Do you think there's a little bit too much extra? Okay, now the offense kind of has to save us here a little bit.
That's a really good question, because actually this morning I was like thinking back through, like, should I have gone down to Kitley and go, hey, look, dude, you got to score every play, so let's press, and so with that, like, what do you do there? Man, I'll tell you guys, we have such a good locker room, and there's no finger pointing. We have some mature men. The meeting yesterday, I mean, I'm going to be the first one to say, that I didn't do a good job on Saturday, and I want them to know that, and because we're all in it together. But I think whenever you have true ownership in what you're doing, before you start pointing fingers, that there was other things that you could have done. And so I don't think that's happening. It could happen, and so that's my job to keep it out, that they, continue to play off of each other. But it really is. If I was trying to figure out like what was going on and what happened, and the game got so out of hand in the fourth quarter when you look at the score, but like a big moment in the game was them scoring right before half and not either kicking the field goal or us stopping them, because we come out of half, we get a stop, we go down and score. Now instead of being, down 24-21, we're up, either 1 point or we're up 4 points, and that was a big, big play in the game of allowing them to drive the field. And that was right after, us scoring the touchdown, I think, to make it 17-14, and so that was a big part. And I don't feel that. I don't feel the offense pressing like that, because I think there's enough things that both sides and haven't talked a lot about special teams, but I think that's been one of our strengths in the 3 years that we've been here. And there's been 2 games that have been greatly affected in the wrong way by special teams, and Baylor was one of them the other day. I mean, if you look at that, there was directly 10 points, but there was really 17 points, and that was all in the first half off of special teams. We had the punt return. I mean, there was a point where they gained 6 yards and had 10 points, off of 6 yards. And then we had a shank on a punt that gave them a short field, that added to another 7. We gave up a touchdown on that. That was all in the first half, and so I don't feel, going back to your question, I don't feel that yet. And I'm definitely going to be aware of it from the standpoint. I don't want anybody to feel that way to start pressing. We got enough issues all the way across the board that we got to fix, whenever it comes to offense, defense, special teams.
Go ahead, Tom.
Joey, with Sterling Porsche being on the questionable list, who do you think of as your 6th offensive lineman?
Nick.
7th?
Nick Fattig. He would have so Nick had to have he was banged up out of camp and kind of he had a hernia, and so we got everything fixed, and so he's been playing his way back into shape. He got to play a couple snaps at the end of the game, at right guard, but he's the one, you've got him, you've got Danny Seals, but Nick is the one that's really done a good job, and he's the one that has been backing up Sterling at that position. I mean, if it's a skill guy, if it was a skill guy, I would say, man, it's going to be hard for that skill guy to play with an ankle. O-lineman, they're in a box, especially guard, and so I'm expecting him to play, but we want to put that on there just in case he doesn't. But if he's not ready to go, Nick will be ready to go.
And I know we talked about Jacoby Williams being a true freshman. He's at 4 games right now. Any consideration at all to stopping him here and redshirting him?
No, I would. That was kind of the plan of if Cam was healthy, but Cam not being healthy and him being out for the year, we're going to play him. Man, that was a good catch by him for the touchdown, and he brings a lot. And then the thing about those 2 young guys too, man, they really mature, love the game of football. The physicality of the game is not too much for him, so we'll keep playing both of those guys.
Watching TCU the other night, what did you think seeing Savion Williams with all the direct snaps in the backfield?
Yeah, they did a good job of scheming some stuff up, kind of like where we've used Conyers before, because Hoover's got a big arm. He's a really, really good quarterback, but he's not a guy that, they're going to run a lot of. I mean, that's not really his deal. So I think you start generating some wildcat stuff on short yardage or even coming out, opening drives. He's Savion, I recruited him whenever he was in high school, man. He's a really, really good football player.
All right, that'll do it. Coach, well,
Thank y'all.
Coach Drager.